To an art review of the Winsor and Newton 45 half pan watercolor set. This is a student grade watercolor set, and it comes in plastic box. So when you open it, you have the colors, and you have this part of the compartment, which is really useful because if you are out urban sketching, you can also take it out and put it away, and then you're basically left with this, which is also very nice. There are these separators, I guess. So like I said, this is a student's grade watercolor set, meaning the colors won't be as intense as an artist grade set. So the main difference between artist grades and students grades lies in the pigment chemical compounds. So if we look at the yellows, I have swatches here on a piece of paper. It's a bit old, hence the stains. So if we look at the range from yellow to red, so usually student grade watercolors and art supplies in general compared to artist grade supplies, they are cheaper, and the colors are not as intensive as the artist grade. This is because of the chemical compounds of the pigments of the colors. So students grade, artist grade colors, they use cadmium to create really vibrant and brilliant shades of yellow, orange, red, and sometimes maroon, and they're called cadmium pigments. But in students grade watercolors and colors, they use hues. They don't use cadmium because cadmium is expensive to produce, to use in watercolors, and hence students grade colors, they opt for alternatives, and because of that the colors are less intense. Nevertheless, they are still good. You basically have to work with what you have. Another thing to mention is that cadmium, cadmium in watercolors, it is long lasting. It results in great light fastness and vibrant colors. Also, cadmium is used in rechargeable batteries and such. So if we look closer, this color is called cadmium yellow hue. So it's not fully cadmium, it's called cadmium yellow hue, meaning it has alternatives in the pigment, alternatives to cadmium, but it's trying to get to the quality of cadmium, but it's not pure cadmium. It doesn't have any cadmium inside. It has alternatives. So because hues and alternatives to cadmium are used in students grade colors, they are meant more for practice than for final work, and honestly it's a good alternative if you really want to try and experiment with a lot of colors, see what you like best, see what you don't like best. And yeah, so I mentioned that this set comes in 45 half pans. Half pan is basically this thing here, and a full pan would be 2 half pans, obviously. So some colors that I've been really liking until now is the indigo, I believe, and the sap green. sap green is actually really essential in a lot of watercolor palettes. It's really nice to create landscapes, and it gives off this organic look to your paintings. Another color that I like was the cadmium yellow hue, and it's right here. This one. I've also used alizarin crimson hue right here. It comes. There are two of them because the color is quite famous along artists and used quite often. But as you can see, it's pretty transparent. So you need to really, if you want an intense color, you really need to use a lot of layers, meaning you also need maybe like 100% cotton paper or 200 GSM in order for your paper to survive. There are some colors in the set that are quite opaque. For example, this purple right here. This is another, this is pink, permanent rose, not pink. So there is purple, which is quite intense and opaque, and there are the blues. Not all the blues are opaque, so we have a cerulean blue hue, which is this one, and it's pretty transparent. I think I've used a lot of color to make it decently opaque here, but I forgot the name of this one. This might be phthalo blue, I'm not sure, but these are, besides being opaque, they are quite tinting. That means when you use it on your palette, you will get some, you'll be left with some stains here for example. This set also includes burnt sienna, which is another essential colors for many artists because it creates this muted sort of organic looking atmosphere in your watercolor drawings. And there are some colors here that you don't necessarily need but are nice to try out. So this set is basically meant for students to try out different colors, different techniques too, and see what they like best. So this set is around 44 to 54, 56 euros, depending on where to buy it. For example, on Amazon, it's around 57 euro. That's around, I think, $62. Okay, so let's do bit of swatch testing. I am using a Da Vinci Cosmotip synthetic brush in size 14. This is pretty good. And I'm also using Hahnemühler watercolor paper. The details will be in the description box below. And let's get started. So now we're gonna test cadmium yellow, alizarin crimson hue, purple, and sap green. First thing I'm doing, I'm wetting the paper with quite a bit of water because the Hahnemühler paper, it is much more thirsty than other papers that I've worked with. So in order to get a really rich looking color on the paper, you really need to take a lot of pigment from the water, from the nibs. So this is cadmium yellow. What As you can see, if you start diluting it with water, it does get pretty faded, but the more you put on your brush, the more intense it will be. So if you have a large space, if you have a large space to color, you really need to use a lot of the color from the half pan. Next is the alizarin crimson hue. Oh right, first you need to put some water on the paper. This is the wet on wet technique, where you have water first and then pigment on top of the water, and then it feathers out. So as you can see, it is quite transparent. Next is purple. As you can see, the yellow one and the purple one, they were the most intense in this range. The sap green and the alizarin crimson hue, they are quite transparent, so even if you add a little bit of water here, it gets pretty transparent. So even the sap green is pretty faded, and if you really want a vibrant if you want a really vibrant drawing, you need to use a lot of layers of these colors. Next, we will be trying out some mixing. Again, some water. And let's go with Prussian blue. This one is the one I was talking about it being quite tinting on your watercolor palette. So it does feather out a bit, but this paper actually doesn't do well with wet on wet techniques. So let's go for yellow, a cameo yellow here. So it doesn't move that much, you can't really dance with it, but they do blend quite nicely. Let's add some crimson red deep here to this. This is also quite nice, but it doesn't move too much. That's something that bothers me about the set. Now this is almost no, but almost dry. And this color is fading, so it's already a faded color to begin with, but when it's dry it fades even more. This goes also for sap green and purple a bit. So again, like I said, this is not meant to be a set you use for permanent artworks, for artworks you want to put in a gallery or in frames. Yeah, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was useful for you, and if you have any comments, any suggestions, just leave that in the description section below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.